Welcome to Salisbury University on the Air, a program highlighting the activities and the people of the campus. My name is Susan Purnell. For years, Salisbury University students studied in what some considered one of the worst campus libraries in the country. It had less than 1/3 of the minimum recommended seating for a student body of SU's size, and less than half the necessary space for library materials, according to the American Library Association. This fall, however, that changed with the opening of the new $117 million Patricia R. Gerry Academic Commons. At 221,000 square feet, it is the largest academic construction project since the founding of the campus in 1925. The university's East Campus also recently saw a flurry of construction activity. Last April, the university opened its new $19 million Seagull Stadium. Over the summer, crews worked to install upgrades and improvements at what was already an impressive facility. Here with me to discuss these new enhancements to campus are Drs. B. Hardy, Dean of Libraries and Instructional Resources, and Gerry DiBartolo, Interim Athletics Director. First is Dr. Hardy. So welcome, B.
Thank you.
So good to have you and to talk about this exciting new addition to the campus, the Patricia R. Gerry Academic Commons. Let's talk about it. First of all, I want to tell you that I knew Mrs. Gerry and I know the Gerry family pretty well. And it's really so appropriate, I think, that the building that houses the library and so much more is dedicated to her because of her thirst for knowledge her whole life. We were talking earlier, she was a very small person with a great big personality and a great big thirst for information, always researching something new and different. So I'm excited that this is in memory of her. And I think they go back pretty far, the Gerrys here, in their history with the college. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Certainly. Patricia Gerry and her husband met at the college. They were alumni of the college and have been very generous donors over the years. The Academic Commons is certainly not their first gift to the campus.
Right.
In terms of their donation. And 3 of their children went to the campus elementary school, which the Gerry Academic Commons is on the site of.
That's
so
right.
they have a long history with the campus.
I went there and remember Mrs. Gerry coming in as homeroom mother and bringing little treats. And she was always very involved with her children's education there, as most of the mothers were. It was a terrific school to go to. So they gave how much money to this building?
$8 million of the $117 million.
Well, that's a tremendous, tremendous gift, and we're so fortunate that they're so invested in the college and that they do go back in the history and that it was so important in their lives. Before it opened, many people referred to this as the new library. As we know, it's so much more than that, but let's talk about the library aspect of it. So it did replace the old Blackwell Library that I think had been here since 1957.
Right.
Tell us how it differs.
For one thing, it is, of course, much larger. The building as a whole is about 3 times as large as Blackwell Library. And more importantly, I mean, certainly the size is important, but also it has the features of a 21st century library. And so it does have a great deal of technology. It has classroom space that Blackwell was built without classrooms because at the time people didn't really do library instruction classes. But now libraries typically are very involved in teaching students how to do research, and so we needed classroom space. We needed group study space because students now do a lot of collaboration, and we didn't have that in Blackwell. So those are some of the ways it differs.
It definitely needed updating too.
Oh yes, yes, very much so.
It certainly did. Now, you know, some people will say, what's the need of a physical library when in this day and age we can just look at our handheld device and get any information we want? How would you argue that a physical library is important?
There are really 2 ways. One is library as a place, as a physical space where people can work together And even if they're working individually, there's something about being part of a community that is all there with the same purpose of studying and so on that's very appealing to people. But also, uh, we still need physical books. Not everything is available online. Not everything that is available online is available for free or cheaply. And actually, every study has shown students today prefer, if they're doing research or if they're studying, to have a physical book as opposed to an electronic book.
Do they? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I still read from a physical book. I tried the Kindle. I didn't like it. I don't know what it is, but that feel of a book in my hand is still important to me. So I get that, but I'm of a different generation
Yeah.
than most of the students for which the library was built. Of course, there are many ways within your new library, your new Commons building, that the students can connect technologically. Can you talk a little bit about the technology in the building?
Sure, I'd be happy to. There is Wi-Fi throughout the building, very good Wi-Fi, so students can connect from their devices. We also have, almost every table seems to have electrical outlets for plugging in devices. There are more than 400 computers in the library, most of them for public use,
Oh, gosh.
because students don't always tote around their laptops or whatever. Um, in addition, we have technology where students can share a monitor. So we have a lot of 40-plus inch monitors in the building. So students can, if they're working in a group, for example, share on the monitor what's on their individual screens. And so that facilitates group work, because even 20-year-old eyes can't really share a small tablet screen or smartphone screen in any effective sort of way. So that's some of it. We also have classrooms with different technology, and we have two film studios for faculty to tape themselves for online lectures.
Oh, I do. So they do have that. They can do an online lecture and
Right.
say you were going to go away and you had a few classes coming up. Could you tape your lecture and then?
Absolutely. That's what those two studios are for.
That's
So,
amazing. Now, I also heard about the Maker Lab, and that's a new term to me. Can you explain what that is?
yes, it's a trend in libraries. In public libraries, they often have all sorts of different things, including sewing machines and things like that. In university libraries, it tends to focus more on 3D printing. And so we do have three 3D printers, we have some 3D scanners, we have some electronic kind of starter kits for people who want to build something with an electronic component and so on. So we've already gotten faculty approaching us from business, from art, from biology about having their classes use the 3D printing.
And is that something they can do?
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing. Now, you said
So,
the public can't, but the students can come into the Maker Lab and use this 3D printer to create just anything, I guess.
yes,
It should
pretty
really
much.
encourage some innovative thinking. That's
Yeah.
great. What are some of the academic centers that are housed in the new Commons building?
The focus has been on academic support units, and so a lot of the tutoring, in fact, I think all of the tutoring units have moved in. So the Writing Center, the Center for Student Achievement, which does tutoring and supplemental instruction in various classes, and the Math Emporium, which focuses on math tutoring. Those are all on the second floor, but we also have faculty support through the instructional design and delivery. That's where the two film studios are located for faculty recording themselves.
Gosh. And also, you have the Edward H. Knapp Research Center there that had been across the street. It's moved into the building as well. In fact, I think you've got 3 spaces or so right now that they're taking up. Can you tell us a little bit about the development of that research center?
Certainly, it started here on campus in the history department as a place for students to get access to original sources, or at least microfilm copies of original sources. to write history papers. And it grew from there into a Delmarva Regional History and Genealogy Center. It is very interdisciplinary. There's an archaeology lab that's part of it and so on. It is part of the SU libraries. It's just now physically we're all in one building as opposed to being in separate buildings.
Right. So the 3 galleries, what are they featuring now?
Right now there's the permanent gallery, which is at the entrance to the NAB Center, and that has an exhibit that showcases the different types of materials and subjects that the NAB Center has, which of course focus on Delmarva. And so there's part on work and part on genealogy, part on military, and so on. There's a temporary exhibit gallery in the NAB Center. It's next to the NAB Center Permanent Gallery. And that is meant for rotating exhibits. Right now there is a traveling exhibit called Ruth Starr Rose, which features paintings by a white woman artist of African Americans on the Eastern Shore and elsewhere. And that's she was painting a lot in the early 20th century. And then in the first floor lobby, there's an exhibit on the history of libraries at Salisbury University.
Oh, that's appropriate.
Yes, we thought that would be a good opening exhibit.
Sure.
And the first floor lobby and the temporary gallery up on the 4th floor are both meant to be part of an exhibit lab. And so we are hoping that faculty will work with our curator on creating exhibits in those spaces. So instead of, for example, having a research paper as a final project, the class as a whole would create exhibits using our resources and with input from the curator. So developing some different skills.
Right. Now, I know not everything that belongs to the NAB Research Center is on display. You have artifacts that I guess you have to store somewhere. How did you used to store them versus how you're storing them now?
We used to store them as best we could, which was not up to professional standards, frankly.
We didn't have a lot of space.
No, we didn't. And so archival materials were largely in the East Campus office complex, and the artifacts tended to be in the basement of the Blackwell Library. And now they're in absolutely professional grade storage with fabulous shelving, with very good climate control and security and so on.
Right in that same building?
Right. They're all on the 4th floor now.
Oh, good. Out of the basement, which is good, because if they'd
Yes.
been in my basement last week, they would have really been soaked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Good. And so there's some other special rooms, like where the ribbon cutting was. I think that was called the Assembly Hall. Is that right?
Yes, the Assembly Hall up on the 4th floor is meant to be a space for major academic events, so research conferences, lectures, and so on. It also can be used for banquets and things like that. It can seat over 350 at round tables. It has a state-of-the-art lighting system and audio system, and so certainly some types of concerts could be held there. It has a lovely terrace that's on the west side, so for evening events with sunset, it should be really beautiful.
Oh, yeah, facing the right direction and everything. And so do you think the public could actually hire out that room, or is that not?
I believe that is the intention.
Okay, so eventually anyway,
Yeah.
right? Good. How about the graduate student and faculty lounges?
Those are 2 new spaces for the campus. We've never had a room dedicated solely for graduate students, and graduate students now are 10% of our student body. So I know they appreciate having a space that's their own.
Just theirs, right.
Their own. So it's not a big space, but it has some lockers for them if they want to put stuff away and not carry it around campus. It's got some tables and soft seating and a collaboration table. So it has some stuff for them. The faculty center is a place that we expect will get a lot of use. There's really no space on campus where the faculty from different departments can gather, let alone from different schools. And one of the trends in higher education has been more and more interdisciplinary work, both interdisciplinary teaching and interdisciplinary research. But faculty have to have a place where they can meet. And so this is meant to do that. It's certainly meant also to be a social space, so they can go grab some lunch in the cafe and then come up to the second floor into the faculty center and have lunch together. But there's also space for them to work together. There's a conference room, there's a projector, and so on. So
Did they have any kind of lounge before?
there was technically a lounge for faculty from all over campus on the second floor of Blackwell, but virtually no one knew about it, and it wasn't a very pleasant space.
Uh-huh.
So
they have a nice lounge now to
yes.
get together. That's great. Now, is this new building open 24/7?
There is a part of it that is open 24/7, which is our first campus space, open 24/7. And so
That's right there on the first floor?
The south side of the first floor, both stories of the cafe, and a little bit of the second floor are open 24/7 during the fall and spring semesters.
I can remember when I went to college that the library was open 24/7 because, college students study late.
Yes, they're night owls.
Yeah, they really
They're
are.
Night owls.
Yeah.
Not morning people.
Not
you can
at
come
all.
at 7:30 or 8 a.m.
Not a
and
soul.
it's quiet.
I bet
11
that's when
at
you like to
night,
go in.
Yes,
Yeah.
11 at night, it's crowded.
Yes, isn't that something? It's got outside. Now there is a 147-foot tower that is for the Carillon bells, correct?
Right.
I understand that there was a little bit of a delay in getting those bells to the campus, but once they are here, the plan is that you will even have Carillon concerts in this tower. Is that right?
Yes, and it should be a pretty spectacular carillon. It does have 48 bells, which apparently is a very large carillon. I don't know anything about carillons, but that's what I've heard.
Well, I think you know a little bit more than you're letting on because we talked earlier, and I didn't know with the bells how they were actually played, and you explained to me there's an actual keyboard, right?
Right. It's very physical work. It's not just like a little keyboard. It is one where you have to use all of your limbs and reach here
to get,
and
with
there.
48, you're right.
All at the same time, and it's a very active playing, from what I understand.
Well, I hear they're beautiful. I've never really heard one. Actually, the Bach Tower in Florida, I think, has a carillon concert every now and then, and I've heard people talk about it, and that it's just a really great experience. This is a memorial carillon, isn't it?
Yes, it's named for Sam Brown by his partner in business and life, Bill Church. It's actually named for both of them, but Bill wanted to do it in Sam's honor. They were businessmen, longtime friends of the campus, but very much into the arts. And Sam, I understand, was very much into organs and organ music and church music. And so carillons were a natural connection.
Sure. There's something special about the largest of the carillons, or of the bells themselves?
The two largest were actually cast in England by the company that did the Liberty Bell.
Oh, that is special.
So it's been around for quite a while, that company.
Yeah,
And
you were telling me there's not
crack.
too many companies that actually create these, right?
There are 3 in the United States that cast bells.
And only one guy who can tune them, is that right?
Right. The owner of the company that's cast our bells, which is in Ohio, is the only one in the U.S. that tunes bells. The other 2 companies actually send their bells to Europe to be tuned. And he's 78, so we'll pray for his good health.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's sort of explains why it might take a little bit longer for that part of the building to be finished.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we certainly hope to have a carillon concert once the bells arrive and are installed.
That'll be beautiful. It seems a little incongruous to talk about food at a library because you really don't want a lot of food on the books, but there is a great cafe, the Hungry Minds Express, very nicely named, that is within this new compound. And I understand that there's a sandwich that's been named after a very important person on campus, right?
Yes, there is the Dr. Janet burger, which has a Mexican theme to it. And of course, Dr. Janet studied in Mexico.
Right. She's
So,
fluent in Spanish, as a matter of
yes, yes,
fact, I
she
think.
is.
So that's great. I hope she likes her burger.
I think she does.
Uh-huh. Good, good, good. Speaking of Dr. Janet, she has said that the new Commons building is transformative. Do you feel the same way?
Uh, I think it is. It is meant to be, as I mentioned earlier, a 21st century library. The way people learn has changed, and this building reflects that. And so we do have all the space for collaborative learning. The classrooms that we have are all designed in different ways to encourage active learning rather than people just sitting back and all looking in the same direction, facing the professor who's kind of the expert at the front of the room. That's not how these classrooms were designed. And so in terms of supporting group learning, active learning, this is transformative. It's a very serious academic space, and I think really kind of proclaims to the world that, hey, Salisbury University is about serious academics.
I think it's just a remarkable addition. It's really amazing. What was it like for you working with the designers and the architects of the building? Because you were there from the beginning.
It was huge fun. It was very stimulating. The architects for the building were all people who had designed libraries previously. So they were academic libraries. So they were all very familiar with the trends in academic libraries. And they also were all very willing to kick ideas around, and I could suggest something and they'd take it and run with it. And they did really a great job of taking the vision that was in my head and turning it into a 3D building and making it even better than what my vision had been.
You had a great maker lab experience, didn't you?
Yes, that was part
Having
of
the
it.
concept and then
Yeah.
seeing the reality.
Yes,
Be
in
so
a very
great.
large way.
Be so great, right?
Yes.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Now the furniture, I understand, was designed to be somewhat accommodating to the way students study. Can you explain that to me?
I think probably in particular the collaboration tables and some of the
Group
collaboration work.
settings.
But yeah, so these are kind of half oval tables, so you can get 4 or 5 students around one. And at the flat end, it has a monitor, and that's one of the places where students can project from their own smartphones and tablets and so on. But otherwise, we tried to have a variety of furniture in the building to suit different study styles. Certainly, there's still space for individual study, individual carols and tables in quiet reading rooms, but lots of space also for students to work in more social settings.
More experiential learning, I guess they call that in educational terms. There's some also Eastern Shore touches that I thought you might want to mention.
Okay, certainly. We did try to make this a building for this location. And so one of the Eastern Shore touches is in terms of the colors in the building. So you'll see a lot of blues and greens and sand colors.
I did notice that.
Yes, yes. And those aren't actually colors that are very trendy right now, but because they're important for our location, we think they will stand the test of time. Another Eastern Shore touch is in the grand staircase that's in the atrium. And that has 2 stylized crabs when you look at it. So
I didn't see that. Somehow
that's
I missed
definitely
that.
an Eastern Shore.
I ran in late,
touch.
ran straight for the elevator, so I didn't go up the staircase. Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
There's also an aspect of the building that many of us will never see unless we see an aerial photo or video, and that's the green roof. Explain what that is and what its purpose is.
Okay. There is a 20,000 plus square feet of green roof on the top of the building, obviously. And it's made of sedum and other regional plants. And the point for that is twofold. One is it does filter the water before it goes down through the building and out into some bioretention areas outside the building. And so that limits runoff. So it's very clean water before it goes out into the soil. And so that's one function of it. The other function is to help with cooling. It keeps the building cooler in summer. It helps insulate the building.
So it's green in color and green in its ecological functions as well. That's great.
Yes, it contributed to the building being LED gold.
Well, that's fantastic too. Now, I know this was built for the public's use as well, but primarily for the students. Can you just tell me a little bit about what their reaction to the building has been?
They absolutely love the building. They came in the first day we opened, and really they haven't left. It's amazing to see the swarms of students that are in the building and using all the different spaces. People are finding their niche, and that's where they go.
I was impressed at the ribbon cutting at how filled it was already. I mean, there was, I don't know how many people can be in that building at one time, but it seemed like it was at the max when I was in there.
Yeah, it's really been impressive how the students have been using it.
Yes. Well, I would encourage all of our viewers to stop by and see the Patricia R. Gerry Academic Commons building. It's really remarkable. We're so fortunate that it's become a reality here on campus, and I know that you had a lot to do with it, so thank you, Bea.
You're quite welcome. It's been wonderful, and I'm so appreciative that we were able to build this building.
You have a pretty wonderful place to go to work, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Thanks again for being here today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And now looking ahead, here are some of the activities on campus in November. My next guest is Dr. Gerry DiBartolo, Interim SU Athletics Director, to tell us about some of the improvements recently made to Seagull Stadium. Welcome, Gerry.
Glad to be here today.
Yes, glad to have you. Now, we just opened the stadium in April, so why are there needs for some upgrades already?
Sure. Well, we had our grand opening in April, and at the time the stadium was being designed, our turf and some other amenities were still in good shape. That process took 2 to 3 years from the design phase to the completion of that stadium. As we got closer to the end of the construction, it became very apparent that we had some turf issues. Our turf had been repaired a couple of times. We've had large pieces replaced. We kept losing fibers. And one of my first couple of days in the role of interim athletic director, I went to the university administrators and said, we really have to think about replacing this turf. And we were able to do that.
So the biggest improvement then is that figuratively and literally we have a new turf field.
That's correct.
Right? What can you tell us about this new turf?
Okay, so this turf field is the same turf field that was and used to be at M&T Bank Stadium where the Baltimore Ravens play.
Oh, gosh.
Before they changed to grass. And so this is Shaw Momentum 51. It is state-of-the-art turf. It's designed as a multi-purpose field. And what that means is we have 4 different teams that play on that field as a primary turf field. So we have football, men's and women's lacrosse, and field hockey. We've tried to make that turf field as playable and usable for all 4 of those sports. And Shaw did a great job in terms of helping us in bringing the turf level up and making the field play fast for field hockey, as well as being somewhat shock absorbent for when our football players hit the ground when they get tackled on almost every play.
Right. I know nothing about turf. Is this live or is this fake?
This is artificial turf.
Artificial turf.
That's correct.
Okay.
Artificial turf.
Because I rode by there today and I thought it's really green. I've never seen a lawn that looks like that.
Yes.
Okay,
it is.
so it is artificial.
Absolutely.
What happened to the old turf?
Okay, so in the design of this, we decided that, and the company said they would recycle a large majority of the old turf. We had a number of requests whether local groups could have the turf, and it's just not the way it works. So they recycled a large number of that, and there was a portion of the turf that was sent to Tennessee for a dog park. So it's now being used as part of a dog park in Tennessee.
Oh, that's great. Of course, there's also a new video scoreboard.
Sure.
Explain that.
So as part of the improvements, when we were looking at the turf and we have the new stadium, we were still operating with a scoreboard that was old. We were approached by some legislators about some improvements. They were willing to help us in the funding of the turf. So we decided if we could perhaps do a new scoreboard. And we contracted with the firm, and we now have a large screen video board and a scoreboard. This has been a wonderful addition to the stadium. Now we have the capability of doing some things that we've never been able to do in the stadium before. Every time a play is made, we can show the face, the picture of that player. And for football, that's really important because we don't see their faces very often because of the helmets. We have the ability to broadcast the game while it's being played on the video board. We have the capability of doing replay on the board now.
Playbacks would be now
playback.
possible? Right.
We can do playback on obviously some great plays. We have the ability to add some graphics. We have the ability to add some popping phrases, I would say.
Huge. I think the video board, when I go to Camden Yards, for example, is just so important to the game. Can you also hone in on people and take pictures of people in the bleachers?
We don't have that capability yet, unfortunately. Our cameras
whatever that's called.
Our cameras are fixed cameras, so we don't have that ability. As we add more cameras,
we'll get there.
We might get to that. And who knows, maybe we'll have Kiss Cam at some time.
That's right. That's right. So also the new stadium style seats are in, aren't they?
Correct.
And then they took the place of the bleachers, which I'm glad about because I like having a little back to my seat.
So what we did is when we built the stadium, we had put in all stadium seating originally. The one thing that's nice about this stadium seating is it's curved on the seat, so you're actually sitting in a curved seat, and there's abundant leg room in front of you. but we knew that as an addition, an add-on, we wanted to add some chair-back seats. So this summer, after the stadium was completed and open, we had a company come back in the center section, we now have 250 some odd chair-back seats. I take that back, 450 chair-back seats. Those all have SU logos in them. In the chairbacks themselves with different color, we have SU spelled out in them. So it's a wonderful place for people to sit. Again, we have plenty of leg room in there. Lots
Do you
of
pay extra to sit in those seats?
No,
No,
you do not.
It's just first come,
has
first served?
There has been a suggestion that maybe that should be reserved seating, but
VIPs
we haven't quite gotten there yet. So it's first come,
But
first
that
served.
might
Get
be
in
a
there.
money-making opportunity.
Might be,
Yeah,
might be.
that's great. Now, the bleachers were removed. Where did you put them?
So we're storing those right now, and they will be used for both the softball project, the baseball project, and the soccer project that will be happening in the near future.
Well, it just sounds like you didn't throw anything away.
Absolutely
So
not.
that's terrific. What about upgrades within the concourse?
Sure. So the concourse was pretty plain, I would say, when we first got it. We have a couple of TV monitors in there, so when you're in the concourse, obviously you can see what's going on in the field. We decided to add 2 large vinyl appliques on both the north and south tower, which features our seagull and some nice catchphrases about supporting Salisbury athletics. And then obviously having a concession stand, a real concession stand that serves a whole gamut of foods, and a goal gear shop, and real stadium bathrooms. To me, that's one of the huge improvements in that stadium, that we have stadium style bathrooms, 20 stalls in each for men and women.
Yeah, the other bathrooms were not so good.
No, they were not.
So that's great. And I'm glad to hear the food's improved as well.
It's our food service, and they're doing a great job
That's
there.
terrific. Now, I understand the whole concept of tailgating is somewhat new to Salisbury University,
Correct.
which has been going on forever at professional games and other universities. How are the students liking that?
So this was a initiative that was really brought forward by the Student Government Association to Dr. Dudley Eschbach, asking for the possibility of tailgating. We did a number of studies, meetings, investigations, and we decided this year we would have 2 tailgates for each team that plays in the stadium. So 2 in the fall for football and field hockey, and then for the lacrosses in the spring. The tailgates have been wonderful. It's a safe zone. If you happen to be there for the homecoming tailgate, we had tents up, and that was raining, obviously, so the tents were there. Food was being grilled. People were playing games. We had a kids zone. So I think that concept of tailgating has really caught on. One of the things that we do with our tailgates is, come game time, we ask people to leave the tailgate area and go to the game, because that's the idea, tailgating prior to the game, but then get to the game and support the team as they're playing.
I hate to admit that I've never tailgated, but I don't think I ever have, so I'm going to have to try that.
Absolutely, it's
And
wonderful.
I had every intention of doing the homecoming tailgating, but
Well,
I don't look at games in the rain.
Correct.
Sorry about that. How have the student athletes enjoyed the new stadium so far?
Well, it's been great. If you would have seen we did not let them see the locker rooms, anything in the stadium, until we had our open house. And then to see the expression on their faces when they went into their locker rooms. So they now have dedicated locker rooms for their sport. Tremendous and wonderful. But what that's done for us is, now that since we've gotten those 4 teams out of MAGs, we made some improvements to MAGs so that every team on campus now has a year-round dedicated locker space, whether it's in MAGs, in the tennis center, whether it's in the pool area, in the MAGs locker rooms, or in the stadium. So they have a space that's theirs. They can customize it as they'd like. It's the team space, and I think that's been one of the benefits of building the stadium and providing these 4 permanent locker rooms, that now we've been able to do this for all of our other teams also.
I think this whole thing should enhance your recruiting efforts
Oh yes, I
immensely.
mean, we've had great teams here and great success.
We always have,
with
yes.
very inadequate facilities. Now that our
I
facilities
can't
are improving,
imagine where we're going to go
Absolutely.
from here. It's great. Any other athletic field constructions going on
we have a
campus?
lot going on. So currently we are in the construction phase of a new softball facility at the same site of where our old softball facility was. That should be completed hopefully by January 24th, because softball season starts January 30th with practicing. that will have a new bleacher area, a new press box, storage, an artificial turf outfield and a dirt infield, and additional and enhanced seating, more batting cages. So that's tremendous. Starting in early January, we're hoping to begin work on improvements to the men's and women's soccer field. That will include new bleachers, a new press box area, a new storage area, new fencing, laser grading the field, improvement to the irrigation system, and hopefully that will be ready by the fall season. We're also going to begin work on where the tailgates currently are being conducted. We are going to put a new intramural field complex, which will be artificial turf with lights. That should begin sometime in late winter, early spring, and hopefully have that ready by the fall or middle of the fall. And that will be designed primarily for campus rec use and club sports. Additionally, we will then build, hopefully by late summer into the fall, a new baseball facility where the existing intramural fields are, and that will be a complete turf facility. The only dirt that will be on that field will be the pitcher's mound. Everything else will be artificial turf, which is what the coaches and the players would like, as well as new bleachers and a press box and storage and all those, and a new grounds building. So that kind of completes a lot of the improvements that we have on the main campus, and this was done thanks to the support of Dr. Dudley Eschbach, and these are all being done with internal dollars. The last thing we need, which is not on the books, unfortunately, but hopefully will happen at some point in time in the future, is a new field house. And that would, our vision is that would go where the baseball field is currently, and that would be a new basketball arena, new recreation areas for our students. We're operating in Mag's Gym, which was built for a student population of 2,500 students, and here we are sitting at 8,000 students. So we're doing the best we can in Mag's, but it's a building that obviously is too small for the size of our students.
Well, if Dr. Janet can do anything, it's raise money.
Absolutely.
And she is phenomenal at that. And so I think you'll probably get your wish come true. Just a matter of time.
Sure. She's been a tremendous supporter of athletics.
She really is a great supporter of athletics and of academics.
Absolutely.
And we're very fortunate to have her. And I think we're very fortunate to have you too. In this interim position, you've kind of had to hit the ground running.
I've learned more about construction in my months than I've ever thought I would want to know. I know terms that I never knew existed, but it's been a collaborative effort. It's, we have a crew on campus working with this, as well as the architects and the builders and the subcontractors. So they're all trying to get this right and do the best.
Well, thanks for filling us in on so many things going on. I really appreciate it, Gerry, and good luck in your
Thank you, and
new
it's been
position.
a pleasure.
The Seagulls have always been the teams to beat, and now they have a stadium befitting their 19 NCAA Division III national championships. And now, let's take another look at events happening on campus in November. I'd like to thank my guests, Drs. B. Hardy, SU Dean of Libraries and Instructional Resources, and Gerry DiBartolo, SU Interim Athletics Director. SU has so much to offer. I hope our viewers will visit the new Academic Commons, see a game at the new stadium, or just stop by campus for a visit this fall. I'm Susan Purnell, and this has been Salisbury University on the Air. Thank you for watching.
I like the building. It almost doesn't even look like a library. It looks like a mall to me. It's really nice. It's a big improvement for Salisbury, and I think it's going to be a good sell point for the school.
It's great. It's a beautiful facility. I haven't even seen all of it yet because it's so big.
I think I find myself here every day, printing something out or studying. It seems like a really good building, a lot better than the old one.
I will love the free printing and the food selection and the nice water fountains and comfortable couches, so I'll be here a lot. Everything's nice and new. It smells clean in here. It's a beautiful facility.